Fab. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We'll just give it a couple of minutes before other people get on the call. We've got Ellen here from the Ardonna Group. I'll let Ellen introduce herself in a minute. We're going to be talking about driving community through recognition today. So Ellen, how's your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?
That was a good weekend, thank you. How about you?
Yes, it was good. Chaos as always, but always good. Um, Fab. So hopefully we've got enough people dialed in now. So Ellen, tell me a little bit about your role at the Ardonna Group, the group itself, and what makes it so special.
Yeah, thank you, Annie. So my role is currently Channels, Change and Project Lead within our corporate affairs team for the Ardonna Group. Um, for those who don't know who the Ardonna Group is, you'll be totally forgiven. We are the biggest mystery within the insurance industry, but we are one of the largest independent insurance brokers in the world, and certainly kind of in the top five in the UK as well, with a global footprint of colleagues all around the globe, particularly in recent years with grown significantly overseas. So we've now have got obviously a very large presence here in the UK and actually in Ireland as well. But we have a footprint in Australia, Singapore, South Africa, Italy, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France, Chile, Peru, Brazil, Portugal. I mean, the list really keeps growing to the point where actually it's hard to keep track of all the countries we're in and the territories. But yeah, we're a fast-paced organization with a very acquisitive, like as I say, acquisitive nature to keep growing and growing. And yeah, we have lots of different types of businesses, from traditional insurance brokers through to kind of what we term MGAs, the London market operations, and all the in between. But yeah, hopefully that gives everyone a little bit of context. I've probably spoken a lot of gibberish there, but for those who aren't in the insurance sector or aren't so sure, but that should give you a bit of a flavour as to kind of our organisation.
Fab, thank you so much. Yeah, we've worked with each other. I think it's for probably 5 or so years now, and definitely a learning curve for myself
Mm.
with all of the insurance lingo. And obviously, as you guys have grown and acquired all of those different territories, we've grown with you, hopefully, as a platform.
Okay.
Um, so today we're really going to be focusing on the Spotlight Awards, the shout out journey, that process that was once rather manual, how it's evolved year on year. I know we're at the point in time now where we're thinking about Spotlight as well, how that's going to be delivered in 2026. It's really this group-wide celebration of all things recognition. And yeah, I say we've partnered on this for a number of years. So this
We have, yeah.
conversation today is going to really hone in on that recognition journey, what's changed, what we've learned, and all, that power of recognition. So for anyone who doesn't know, tell me a little bit about the Spotlight Awards. What are they? Why they matter so much to the Ardonna Group? Those values that they amplify, because I think that's really important to
Mm.
focus in on those values. How they're connected to shout outs and how they complement each other. That'd be lovely. Thank you.
So, the Spotlight Awards are our annual employee recognition awards program. That's quite a mouthful, actually. Um, but essentially, yeah, we run them every year. This is actually our 10th year of Spotlight, believe it or not. I know it's really flown by, having been kind of here from the very first one. Now it's kind of entering a decade of Spotlight. And every year, what we do is through the Spotlight Awards, it's a peer-to-peer recognition program. So we have an awards window where people go on and they can nominate any colleague, a project, or a team in one of our award categories. And those award categories we always keep to a really sensible number. I think there's probably a lot of communicators that have seen or have attended award ceremonies where there seems to be an unlimited list of awards, and it becomes less special. And even though we've grown, I mean, since we did first launch Spotlight, we're probably 10,000 people kind of larger as an organization. But even through that growth, what we've tried to do is keep those categories to be something, shared behaviors, shared traits, a part of our kind of our shared culture. Now, our Donna, we very much kind of term that our green thread, green kind of very much linking back to our primary brand color, which is British Racing Green, and it's this green thread kind of weaves across everything we do. It's something that is very much shared within our organization. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are in the world. While there might be different office cultures or business cultures, actually what we have is this really special kind of weaving of principles and values that we share, and Spotlight actually through the categories really aims to celebrate that. So we have categories that are very much designed that year on year they're still valid, they still matter, they still kind of really embody the spirit of Ardonna and our people, crucially. So people can go on, as I say, nominate in any of the categories. They can nominate 10, 100 times if they want. There is no limit to how many times you can nominate someone. And then from there, we collect the nominations and we whittle them down to a very, it's a tough job because we've been so fortunate. And I'll come on to why I think Engage has played a massive part in this. But year on year, we've been very fortunate, had a very steady kind of upwards trend in nominations. Every year we go into it and you say, obviously, it would always be nice to get more, but actually quality of nominations over quantity is paramount here. And you always get like a few people, I mean, a few is probably a bit underestimated, but you do get a number of nominations that are, I want to nominate Joe Bloggs because he's such a nice manager. And while that's great, the awards are very much to amplify our top and brightest talent, the best of the best, and or the creme de la creme, as you may wish to say. And I think, we always want quality, but actually, like, as I say, we just seem to get this upward trend. And actually last year really was like a very pinnacle moment where we were like, we have all these nominations, but arguably actually they're stronger than they've ever been. Actually whittling them down is quite a task. So once we've done that task, we get various impartial senior leaders to then kind of then whittle it down further, and what you're left with is a short list of finalists, and the finalists get invited to a glitzy award ceremony in person. This year it was in Paris, which was quite exciting. Previously I've done it in most of the London venues, as like top London kind of venues, from the V&A Museum, Maritime, Natural History, Roundhouse, the list goes on. But we try and award people with this amazing experience, and it is an experience. It's not a traditional corporate event. It's designed to be fun. It's really designed for these people who are coming out of their day-to-day lives to really feel special and feel like at every single moment throughout this program they are made to feel like they're being recognized, and that every little detail is kind of catered for. And that ends with this amazing award ceremony. And I don't want to blow our own trumpets, but we really do know at this point how to put on quite the event. So that's the Spotlight Awards. And do you want me to come on to why Engage plays a massive part, or do you want me to hold back and let we talk about that?
Let's go for it. And then if we can, because we can then talk around those features and things like that, how we've kind of gone on that journey. But that'd be great if you want to talk about Engage and how the part's been played.
So, sorry, I've probably skipped ahead.
But
I think as we've grown, and grown with, I think crucially, Annie, it's a case of we've grown with you as well. I think it's not just a one-sided thing. We've grown as a company, but as we work really closely, and I feel like we've grown together. And Spotlight is one of those processes where we grow, and I think we challenge each other around how we can better that. And I love that collaboration that we have every year. We kind of come to you guys with a few suggestions, and actually you go away and create something, help us create something really special. And that, like I touched on, even with the nominations window, what's really fantastic with that window is that we actually use Engage as the mechanism for people to go and nominate colleagues. Obviously we have forms, and forms I think work really well, and as I was talking to James and Holly last week about this same thing, our form has in the best way possible kind of grown eyes and ears and feet and all sorts over the years. It's not just a standard form, but with your help, as I say, we come to you every year, we say, look, we want to use this form, but actually we don't want it just to be a standard form that people go in, type some information, hit submit. Actually, what we want to do with this is actually find ways on the platform that we can optimize experience, but also make our lives easier and make sure people really feel recognized. So part of that form now is that we have the form, there's a lot of automation built into that form. For example, I think we leveled it up one year with the introduction of linking the form with shout outs on the platform. So when people get nominated, they now find out in real time who they've been nominated by. They don't get the whole submission, but what they get is they get an instant shout out on the platform to say, Joe Blogs, congratulations, you've been nominated for X category by the nominator. And that, that's one way we've really leveled it up with Engage. And I think it's a really great way for people to know in real time that actually they have been nominated, and to build that buzz and that engagement with this, this program and with the awards. And then last year we kind of circled back again and we were like, look, we really want to be able to do something here for teams, because when you nominate a team, it's not, you can't multi-select loads of people as part of the team, so actually they're not getting the shout out, and that feels like it's missing a trick. So then we came back around last year, and again, as I said, kind of alluded to, we challenged one another and we said, look, what can we do here? And your clever developer guys went away and actually then created a multi-contact selector in the form. So it's not just the standard the contact selector, it's a multi one where in theory you could, and I don't think you'd want to, but you could add an indefinite list of names.
Absolutely.
But if you've got if you've got 50 people in a team, that person that's nominated could well go and tell us all 50 names of the people in the team. They all get a shout out at once. And I think, again, it's a way of making sure that we are kind of really pushing boundaries and making sure that we are utilizing every bit of the platform's functionality 100%. To make that process smooth, easy for us, but also a really great experience for the end person. And like I say, like we do that every year. I mean, we've done it with translations being built in as well. We've done that year, that's something that we built into the form process before. You've had all these heap of recent upgrades in the last kind of like 12-18 months. But yeah, as I say, that form as part of our nominations window has really helped adoption of the process, because it is easy, and our numbers thankfully talk for themselves, and but people are using it. We don't have complaints. We never have any and it's not me. That's not me just being a positive person, or just saying, ignoring one bad email. Like it's genuine. Like we last year didn't get one email of people saying they had issues accessing Engage to access the form. It's easy, it's clear. And I think, when a process is that simple, I think that also helps to drive, as I mentioned, that helps to drive those nominations as well, because people can do it. It removes the barrier to entry. And then when it comes to like the skipping ahead to when we shortlist and we have our finalists, again, Engage is very much at the forefront of that campaign, because we reveal our finalists on the feed.
We really do, yeah.
Yeah, we take over the feed for the day, and
love it. It's so cool.
So cool.
It is really cool. And I think having kind of like, we talk about the ideas in our sessions, don't we, and kind of how we want to tweak them. And then, as you say, the clever developers over at Engage make our dreams a reality, I think.
Yeah.
And it's such a special project to work on, because, as you say, it does involve so many different people, processes, teams internally for ourselves, whether that's the developers, designers, me in customer success, whether it's, my colleagues who look after you from an assist perspective, and literally everything and anything, but also those features. And, in previous webinars, I've spoken about the 5 pillars of engagement that we have, and communications, accessibility, enablement, feedback, recognition. This project has it all, and that's why I absolutely love it. And I always love when you talk about the invisible green thread as well, and it's something so intrinsic to the group, and our conversations, how yourselves and the wider team kind of communicate with the group. It really is fantastic. So to kind of like get into it a little bit around, your opinions on seeing recognition in action, and how, when it's visible across such a group, rather than just happening within teams. Because I've worked with some clients in the past where they actually don't want to recognize each other across the whole organization. They want to keep that recognition kind of small and tight within the team. Kind of, how can you say that, what kind of impact has that had by, recognizing everybody and opening it up across the group?
I think there's 2 things here. I think, because for us, we do utilize, and I should have mentioned it earlier, we do obviously utilize the shout outs functionality, but year round. Like, that's not just part of that spotlight process. That's actually, we we call it applause, in our business, that the shout outs becomes what we call applause, and it's designed for everyday recognition. And again, what we allow people to do there is go in, send a shout out card at any point, at any time, and that is to recognize the small stuff. And that, again, that for us would be more of that intimate, like smaller, like do it within your colleagues and your teams. And actually what we do see is that is used every single day without fail, where someone's recognizing a colleague for stepping up while they were on holiday, or take, I don't know, helping with a charity event or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You do get that through, you get that kind of intimate and lower kind of, that intimate level of like recognition through what the shout out functionality. And that really, that from us really complements Spotlight, because what you have is you have something that's like for the everyday. It's for the small moments. And look,
It is.
you can never underestimate the small moments, because
No.
like, if you're anything like me, I'm a big believer in the small things are really, when you add them up, they kind of equal the big stuff, right? It is those small moments day to day where those small actions can really make a difference to how your day goes. It can make your day better, it
Really
can make your
does.
day worse. So like I say, our applause functionality really complements Spotlight, because you have that. And then what you have is you have this annual window where actually what we're saying is, okay, this is your time to really showcase the best and the
Yes.
brightest talent. And it's looking back on the last 12 months. So for us, we'll open it again in January to colleagues. That's when our window open for 2026, and we'll say, look, how about we then take a look back over the last 12 months in 2025 and tell us about all the big things that have happened and what you want to celebrate. So, and that's where we do have that kind of differentiating factor, is that you have your everyday stuff, but actually this really is to kind of raise awareness of the things that happen day to day across the organization. That it could be a project that's lasted 4 months, this year I know that we've implemented a new global HR system. It could be a nomination for that, and to recognize relentless work from multiple teams, and for something like that, you do have multiple teams. It is a collaborative story, isn't it? You have your HR, you have finance, you have IT, you have so many different kind of people involved in a project like that. And actually that's when Spotlight is really like, you're not just recognizing the day thing, you'll recognize these big things that actually deserve to be put on a global stage, and actually deserve to really amplify and highlight, like I said before, all those things, kind of that green thread. How do we recognize the people that are embodying that and doing these things almost daily to make absolutely massive impact for their colleagues, for their clients, for the customers, all of that stuff. And I think then for us, like when you look at actually how the both of them complement each other, but actually how they then, the impact, you asked me like, what's the impact of doing this, for everyone? And actually what I would say is that people buy into this now. And I think as a business that acquires as well, what you find, you're going through these cycles where the businesses that have been here a while, they really get this stuff, that they love it. And we have businesses that join us kind of along the way, and initially they might be a bit hesitant because they're used to doing their own thing, they don't quite understand it. But the minute they are involved, or they have colleagues that are finalists or even winners, and they see for themselves what that process looks like, and they see the ceremony and all that stuff, then they get bought into it. So next year you might not get just 10 nominations, you'll probably get 100 from that business, because they're seeing the impact it has. And for us, having like Spotlight particularly, what we often find is we, a lot of our winners or even finalists, where they are being recognized at that top level, and they, all the different businesses and the executive people are seeing their names, they're understanding like why these people have been recognized. It actually, it's been known to help these people, move on and progress in the business, get offered opportunities with different teams, or help with their career progression. So rightfully as well, it's a bit of a mechanism to help get these people the visible, and it can't be guaranteed, but more often than not, it really helps the trajectory of someone's career, because of they've been recognized for all the right reasons. So it's for me, when I look at that, from a global perspective of our organization, I do think that's one of the reasons why they do buy in, and it's really impactful, is that it can really help shape and define someone's someone's career with us and the experience they have with Ardonna as as a family of businesses.
So it's so powerful, really, really is. So I know we might not like to think about it, but take us back to those days
Oh,
pre-engage and tell me about the process. Hopefully you're going to tell me it was really clunky, really fragmented. We've seen people be disengaged and all of those things, but yeah, over to you. Tell us, go back, relive those terrible days.
I mean, you've taken the words out of my mouth, Annie. Clunky would be clunky would be my kind of number one on the list of like describe how it was. And it was clunky, and because what we did is before we had Engage, we didn't have one communications platform. We didn't have one place where people could visit to see news and various other things. We did because of the nature of our group and how we're structured. We don't have one IT network. We also plugging in multiple ADs just isn't an option for us, unfortunately, because of the complexity of our organisation, how far and wide we spread across the globe. And so when we picked Engage, it was because we knew that we were going to have some longevity with the platform. We knew that that platform would really have no barriers to entry for anyone. We can link up single sign-on, which I think is a really great tool for us to be able to get people into the platform without having to manually log in. And I think, from a security perspective, it just makes sense. But arguably for us, there isn't a barrier to entry. And I think with what we did pre kind of Engage is we didn't have the intranet, so we had to then go live. We had no control over the design of it. We had no control over we had to really give them the brief, give them the copy, and then changes beyond that point were kind of out of the question. So you didn't have that flexibility to kind of really own and run it yourself. And as I say, just having that hosted and having quite a complicated nomination form behind that, then have natural IT issues where you have to make sure we had to go through all the different IT networks we have, get all the domains whitelisted. And I think for us, it was a barrier to entry. It was a clunky process. Getting nominations instantly was not an option. We'd have to wait till the window closes to be able to get a dump of that. So there was no real checks for us to be able to go through and be like, oh, has so and so been nominated, or can we just check this nomination's gone through? And one thing we do get through the window is we do get regular emails where someone might say, hi team, I've made this nomination, I just want to check it definitely went through. And we didn't have any of that flexibility or management ourselves. So yeah, I think just for us, looking back kind of to those earlier years of Spotlight, that was definitely a massive barrier for us in terms of that process.
And it's funny you should say that, because I think on our calls we're during that nominations window, we're like, how many have we got in? How many have we got in? We're really excited to know if we beat in last year's total and things like that. So yeah, it's crazy to think that you didn't have that previously. So we've got kind of that, we probably just touched on it then, but those main aims for bringing Spotlight into Engage, obviously we've got, it's a cheaper option. We're all on we can all access due to Active Directory and single sign-ons and things like that. Is there anything else that those main aims for getting that process on Engage?
I think, like I said, it's like if people are already going to the platform anyway, you're not sending them to, we're already pushing them there through our communications anyway. We're already pushing them there for, for the communities feature, for the directory, for all those other features. So it kind of just makes sense to then push people to a really familiar platform that like I say, they know it. They're used to it. Navigating it is easy. There isn't the barriers to entry. So I think for me that is just a no-brainer in itself. And I think, like I mentioned earlier on, when you can start kind of utilizing other functionality as part of that process and then, like I say, it's about leveling up and every year building on that. And I think, like I say, the instruction of the shout out cards, the team stuff, all of that stuff for me would just be an absolute no-brainer, because we really are, like I said earlier, like pushing the boundaries and really kind of making the most of what we have at our fingertips for ourselves, but also most importantly for the end user. That's what it's really all about. So yeah, I think from that perspective it was just a no-brainer. But then also it's just being able to have like, we every year kind of bring in a new section on the homepage, and in that section we obviously have the form, which I already mentioned, but you also then, we have other pages, other bits of information about the awards that people can then browse. So again, it's being able to house everything really neatly in one place that feels familiar. And also being able to utilize other bits on the platform, like I said, the feed or the homepage, being able to put in place like carousels, notifications, all sorts of stuff that just kind of link everything together. And you and I quite often talk about kind of the features and how you can have like one thing and actually you draw on every thing, and you have like a loop where it's almost like it goes you're ticking every box on the platform going, yep, we're using social posts, yep, we're using applause or shout outs, we're using a directory, we're using this. And I think, like I say, it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
It just makes sense. Yeah.
So obviously you have a specific set of skills within within your organization, your position to kind of get that buy-in. Any hints or tips on how you can get that momentum going across a group, as you say, especially one that's global, huge, like you are, different languages, tell us your tips.
I think tips, it's always hard. I think number one is keep it simple. A
Mhm.
lot of what I've said sounds complicated, but it's not really. The complicated stuff is for us as kind of the admins and for the people
Yeah,
driving it. But I think you keep it simple for the end users. And I think, when it comes to recognition, it shouldn't be hard. It's meant to be easy for people, because if it's hard, they just won't do it. They'll give up. They'll give up at the first hurdle and say, "Yep, no, it's too much. It's too much effort." I think keeping it simple, and that's everything from how making the form easy. Like I said, award categories, not doing 20 award categories. It's not needed. Think about the things that are really stringent, is that the word, to your company's values and everything you want to tap into. I think for me as well, it's like ease of access. Everything,
Mhm.
just keep it simple, keep it easy. And I think, again, like, you don't have to over engineer recognition. I think ultimately it's kind of there for peer, from a peer, it's there for like peer to peer. It's there for people to feel like they're valued, and it's one of their why reasons, like, why do you come,
Of course.
why do you come to work? And
Mm.
yeah, I think keep it simple. I think the next thing is make it an experience. And interestingly, we were actually talking to one of our winners from this year last week on a Teams call, because she's helping us with another campaign we're going to run, both on Engage but also externally on LinkedIn. And she she was the cutest person I think I've ever spoken to. And but what she was saying was that the whole spotlight experience for her, just from end to end, and as she was, she was lucky enough to be a finalist and then a winner, but everything, like every touch point, just felt like magic. And she just said, like, whatever you're doing, it just feels like an experience, and you've really kind of like you've thought of every little last detail. And I think that is it. And like I said it earlier, it's the small stuff. So for us, it's not just a case of doing a form and someone, it's the shower, it's the touch points, it's the shout outs, it's the way we communicate with them, it's the way that then, once they're finalists, we send them like token gifts. And look, we're not spending, silly amounts of money here, but we send them like a little something. So because we were going to be in Paris this year, our finalists got a delivery of, a box of macaroons and a passport holder this year that was in our branding and kind of aligned to the theme and where we were going to end up. So it's
Wonderful.
little things like that. It's holding their hand throughout the process. It's making sure that when we come to the event, we give them all the information they need, especially taking them to Paris this year. That was a first for us, because we were glorified travel agents for the most part. I mean, I should add that to my CV really, but it's just, you want to guide them through that process, and you want to make every element of that a real experience. I mean, look, some might say, oh, that sounds quite complicated or quite a big ask for the, for to kind of
Yeah.
to do that first time round. But there's so many things that you can do. It doesn't have to end up in a glitzy award ceremony. Like, in our COVID years, as an example, we moved to do, the awards on the radio, like on a radio. It was a I mean, it's
That's
very
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, it was cost effective, but there's so many ways you can do it, where as long as you just create the magic. It's almost like, I think, yeah, for us, as communicators, as looking at like the employee experience, it is just creating those magic. So keep it simple, kind of make an experience. And I think the third thing is that just remember to bring everyone on the journey, and that's all your stakeholders. That, that's the buy-in from the execs, that they need to understand the vision, they need to understand the why factor, and not quite often it's those guys that are signing the budget. The budget's off for these things, but bring them on that journey, make them see the value in it, make your leaders see the value. And sometimes, again, it's that hold, sometimes you have to hold people's hands even through the nomination process. It's not uncommon for us in that process to go out to kind of senior leaders and say, look, the window's open, but actually, if you have anyone specifically you want to nominate, and these people are busy people, right? We always offer a hand and say, tell us, if you want help with a nomination, just tell us what you need, and we'll often help them with that. Because
Yeah.
again, they probably have a ton of people they'd love to nominate, or a team or a project, but sometimes they might just need that helping hand kind of. So I think just every stakeholder matters, I say, from kind of your execs, your middle management, your leaders, down to the people being nominated. And I think the fourth and final thing is just keep it fair. Keep it fair.
100%. They're great tips. Thank you so much. I think one of the reasons that I love Spotlight is it's such an amazing example of where digital meets physical, because we've got this unbelievable process that is fully digitally enabled to nominate to then the short list. But then as you say, it's those physical human touches that you then bring into the process. I say, such as the little gift that everybody got that was going to the ceremony over in Paris this year. It's really, really great and really special. So we've touched on some of those, tweaks that we've made to the forms and things like that to make that process easier and slicker over the years, and make it as great as possible so we get that value. So what I'd really like to talk about is that how we announce the short lists. That I won't give it away. I'll let you tell everybody what it's called, but to tell me all around that, what we do, all of that good stuff, because that for us, even at Engage, is such an exciting day, because we know that this is going to happen and the shortlist's going to be. So tell us about that. Tell us how it's improved as well over the years. That'd be awesome.
So we've done it. I mean, in our earlier days, we just announced the shortlist kind of over email. We did this lovely designed email, and I just had the names on, different categories and the people who made it in each category as finalists kind of listed. And like I say, we did that for the earlier years when we were a much smaller organisation, and it probably it worked in some way. And look, I think as communicators, you can never underestimate the value of email. Like email's not going anywhere, but I think as kind of times moved on, we did a stint where we had a radio channel called Radio Ardonna, and we did a kind of a pre-recorded show that then we pushed out on the airwaves. That's on a certain day and time, and then we went through have music playing, but we also went through all the categories and then announced the winners. And we did it for a couple of years, or 2 or 3 years, and it just felt like it was getting a little bit stale. I think also then when you are a global organization, and actually what you're then working and combating actually quite often is time zones.
Yes.
Because actually what you're doing is then, particularly where we've grown so much overseas in the last few years, and actually I would say now we're looking at kind of like quite an even split between kind of UK Ireland versus then the rest of the world. Actually what you're doing is you're excluding people, because you're saying, if you do it say on a Friday, you're saying, oh, sorry Australia, you can't dial in because it's going to be midnight for you. You can't tune into the radio. And so we were like, we need to kind of revisit the drawing board and think about a way that we could, one that's easy for people to access, but also it's there and people can, it doesn't matter when they end up looking.
No.
They can be able to look at any time. So I think, we were brainstorming with you guys, and actually where we landed was we wanted to take over the feed. And, it was what we've done. I think I've done it for the last 3 or 4 years now, is actually we have a set day in our mind where we're like, on this day, we're going to announce our finalists. And we built, again, as part of that broader Spotlight campaign, we kind of have like a mini campaign for kind of the shortlist, or we call it like a finalist reveal. And we take over the feed for the day on a specific day. So I think next year it'll be like one of the last Fridays in March. We're going to have the date in the diary. We'll tell all of our comms teams that, on that date, what's going to happen is the feed is ours. We get you guys to then clear out the feed. Everything goes. There'll be no social posts, there'll be no content pages published. It's a clean slate for the day. And then what we also do is, because at the minute we don't kind of have everyone force follow, people can choose who they follow or don't follow, but actually on that day we change the following rules, and everyone only follows one account, and that one account is our communications account that we have and the platform as a user. And what we tell people, we're going to announce the categories category by category throughout the day. So we kick off normally around 10 a.m. UK time, whether that would be like British summertime or Greenwich Mean Time, and every half an hour we drop a category on the feed, and that will be a social post, and every year for the last few years we've done a video to accompany it. So I think we started with kind of different senior leaders that we've captured on film announce the categories, but then the last couple of years we've actually really leaned into kind of the theme of the campaign for that year. So like this year obviously was all about kind of build momentum for Paris and doing it in kind of the city and love. So we did it with kind of Levion Rose music playing in the background, and it was these beautiful kind of Parisian inspired videos where then it kind of had the padlocks on the bridge, and the padlocks would then have people's names appear on them. They were animated videos in it, but we did them every half an hour. People know as well then when to look out for a particular category. So if they've got a colleague or they're nominated, they know when they can expect to kind of hear the news.
Yeah.
And they drop every half an hour until we kind of run out of categories. And then at the end of the day, we send an email with a wrap up of all the names, and then a link directly back to Engage to kind of replay the action. And then the following Monday, we say to you guys, look, can you kind of revert everything back? And look, all that stuff will still exist on the feed because that account is always force followed, but it just means that then when they log back in on Monday, they get the best of both worlds. They get to see all the other stuff that they saw before, but they get to replay that stuff. But yeah, the feed's been an amazing way to kind of get people involved, and the amount of like comments and likes, and it's just so. And do you know what I'm really looking forward to next year actually, particularly after this release, is now on the latest comments you can obviously see that you don't just see kind of comments on content pages, you can now see them from social posts. I'm really excited that actually we're going to have that in place, because it means that people can actually see all those comments on the posts.
Absolutely. I love it. It's really, really powerful. I think that because a lot of your audience comes to the platform are web-based, we do have that app audience as well, but a lot of the Ardonna audience is coming to the platform from the web. It is great that the feed is clear, because we get everyone scrolling, as you say, liking, commenting, and replicating that behavior that you'd more often see on the apps, that scrolling mentality. But it's a really great thing to instill in all of our users. So let's talk about kind of, we were saying obviously those nominations have increased year on year, which is great. Have you seen any other kind of engagement, changes to engagement and an impact since bringing Spotlight onto Engage?
Oh, I mean, it's an interesting question. Yes, I think for some of our, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier on actually, as I kind of alluded but didn't, Engage is our one platform that everyone can access, but actually as an organization, not everyone works for Ardonna. We have a family of businesses and brands, and a lot of them are kind of left to run independently, kind of as they are. So Engage, for a vast majority of our kind of collective workforce, they use Engage as like, and I know you guys hate me for saying this, but like their intranet. So they're using it to engage with colleagues. They're using it for their kind of their communications, but actually they are also using it to find a lot of business, like kind of BAU static operational content as well. Whereas so they have that tie to go to the platform. There is already a tie there, because they have to go there to get, they have to go there to get a link to say our benefits platform or our HR system, or to find information about various HR policies, because it exists on Engage. But actually a lot of our international businesses, more than anyone else, they may have existing intranet. They might have a SharePoint specific to their business, and they haven't actually yet taken that leap to just move to Engage.
Yes.
And where you have that, I think then they're not going on to Engage. regularly to check stuff because they already have something else. So Spotlight, if it, it's been a driver to get people actually onto the platform in the first place, because it's a why, it's a reason why they should access it. So on the feed days that we take over or to go and nominate, they're going onto the platform, they're using it, and then they're already there. So then at that point they are then having a nose around, seeing what else the platform can go and offer. So I think actually from that perspective, that's where we have seen, an increase in people using the platform, because we're getting people to actually go there because there's a reason why. So I'd say definitely that for us has really been a driving factor in kind of getting the buy-in and the love for the platform.
It's kind of like that ripple effect in like the weeks and months after. It's kind of like you see that kind of increase in community, and hopefully, as you say, we'll see that more this year, because we'll now have all of those comments from the posts in they're invisible. But have you seen that increase in engagement for the weeks and months and a bit more of a community feel after?
I think so, and I think definitely in the last couple of years, as the platform has kind of leveled up and it's advancing, the introduction of communities and all of that stuff, there's more kind of pulls for people to want to be on there and use it. So I definitely think, you do see that ripple effect. People come on, they use it, but actually they're sticking around, they're coming back the following week, and they are very much engage, I guess. I mean, I think we've all probably used that term, but genuinely,
Absolutely.
like they are, they're sticking around because they like it. And I think again, it's an accessibility piece, especially for us. Like, I think the biggest barriers for people will always be for those colleagues that aren't, in the UK and Ireland, and they are kind of outside of being English speaking on kind of UK time zone. I think as communicators, you've always got that challenge, but the fact now that the platform is fully, probably, be careful here, should I say like 99% translatable?
I think so.
I think,
That'd be safe
yeah,
to say.
I think, I think the fact that it does do that, it means that, that is so essential, that just is so essential for buy-in as well, because we're so lucky that so many of our, colleagues around the world, English may not be their first language, but they do, they can speak it and read it. But for some of them, it might not be as easy. And I think, removing that barrier, and so people can go on, they can read stuff, in Italian, and they can participate in Italian as well. I think that just really helps with it's the sticking around thing. It's like, okay, I'm here now, and I see that, and actually I need to come back next week to see what else there's got, what else are they talking about on here. And we see it with our messaging channels, and on the comments, it takes one person to talk about, oh, I need a bit of help with this, and you'll see people from like Portugal comment and say, oh, hi, like, yep, I can help you with that, like, reach out. So I think, you do see the ripple, you like say, it's definitely a ripple effect, and it happens that the more we go through this process every year, it definitely kind of builds momentum.
So you mentioned you'd was collaborating with another colleague on a project, and they gave you some feedback on and how Spotlight feels. Now, is there anything else that any other colleagues have fed back on, kind of like, those warm and cozy feelings it gives?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, largely we're so lucky the feedback is so overwhelmingly positive, and that's at every touch point, and that's really kind of, I think that's just down to really understanding your employees, and down to understanding like what they engage with and what, how they like to access things. Like I said before, it's about keeping it simple. I really truly believe that. But I think one thing I didn't mention, and another way we've used Engage this year, is when it came to the award ceremony in Paris, we actually, we can't invite 12,000 people to Paris. I mean, we certainly don't have the budget for that, and certainly not the logistics.
I had the Stade de France that I'd do, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe?
I think that would be quite the challenge. I mean, I'm always down for a challenge, but that's quite the challenge. And I think because of that, there always felt like an element of exclusivity. And look, the awards are meant to feel like that, because if you're there, you are there for good reason, But I think what it meant is that people are kind of waiting and not knowing like how their colleagues have done, and I think we wanted to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So this year, what we did as well is we live streamed the awards portion of the event onto Engage, and again, like we used Engage because it just made sense. People, we know our people, you know, I think our usage year to date is like what in the 90%. Like we know people know how to use it. We know people are using it regularly. And I think also you touched on it, most of our people are web-based users, but that really presented an opportunity for us to be like, actually, we need to push people to the app here because, you know, our awards, they're not a daytime thing. It's very much an evening shindig. So we're
Absolutely.
like, look, at 9 o'clock at night for people in the UK or 10 in, you know, elsewhere in Europe, or for our colleagues in Brazil, where we've got quite a big contingent there. You know, for them it'll be more like 5 p.m. For those in Australia, they're just waking up. So actually we can hopefully get people on the app live streaming the event wherever they are, whatever they're doing, you know, while it's happening. And do you know what I have to say? And again, it sounds so cliche, it sounds like I'm lying, and I'm genuinely not. We had no issues. It went down perfectly. I like, honestly, like, it was a perfect way to have a page pinned in the feed. People could go on the app, click on it, play the video, and they're just, whether they were sitting at home on the sofa with their phone out, or starting the day while they're brushing their teeth or having their breakfast, or
That's it, isn't it?
finish. And it was just the fact that we could do that, and the again, the feedback from that was so unbelievably positive. You know, where people were just so happy we were able to do that. And again, like, Engage was playing a massive part in that inclusivity and bringing spotlight into everyone's lives, and, you know,
Yeah.
on that day. And I just think, yeah, it's another thing where with the feedback has been incredible. And again, like, because of that feedback, we'll do it again next year. It makes
So
sense. So,
it shows
like,
that you care for the community, doesn't it? It really
yeah.
does.
And it's just like I say, it's an inclusivity thing. It's about, so yeah, like I say, it sounds like I'm lying. I'm genuinely not. Like, we just and I think, look, the more we've done this, as I mentioned earlier, this is our 10th year, so
Mhm.
it's not we're not you know we're not new to this. And I think the more that we do this, it does become a bit, it becomes like muscle memory a little bit. Like, you just remember
Does.
how you just do it because you remember how to do it.
Mhm.
And I also think that plays a massive part in it. It's like, we can do this year in, year out now. We have a bit of a framework and a model, and we know how to kind of really deliver it. And every year, like I say, every year we try and level it up. But yeah,
Mm.
people love it.
So, talking of leveling it up, what's on your shopping list then? What would you like to do for the next round of Spotlight? Any dream enhancements? Any new moments? I think this, for the next one, we've obviously got the events feature we've recently released. So for me, seeing what we can do with that, because there's quite a number of different touch points that we can use that new feature.
Right,
I
yeah.
think that's going to be a big moment for us. But I don't know.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, hopefully Phil's not listening to this, because the wish list is always
Oh,
rather long from us. But
Bill
no, I think
Ashworth, engage CTO. Ellen's got a list for you.
get your notepad out.
Um,
um, no, look, I think there's so much that we like, the nomination form. Like, there's a couple of things I'm exploring at the minute, and I've probably left a couple of them to the last minute, and then now I'm like, oh, okay, I really need to see if you guys can help us. There's a couple of things, and actually some of it's more just around, like, the data and how we pull it off from
okay.
how we pull that data off. So I'm going to speak to Kelly. Kelly, if you're watching this, I'm coming your way very shortly. But yeah, I'm speaking to the guys around, if we can make the way that we pull the data off a little bit cleaner for us. It will require less kind of manual
Right.
intervention when we pull that data and how we collect it. So that, look, that if I had a wish list, that would probably be on it, because it just would save a bit of process on our time when we pull
Brilliant.
data and put it into our spreadsheet. So there's that. Aside from that, I think from the fee perspective, I feel like we have gone through. We've been so lucky that we've worked with you guys over the last couple of years, and everything we've asked for has kind of come true. Being able to kind of have the feed in chronological order, to be able to have videos that auto play as well. Like, that was obviously something that I think came last year. There's been so many things that have happened that have helped us really get that in a sweet spot. So I don't have a wish list so much for that, but I think, well, like you say, in terms of then how we can get people on the journey. The events functionality, I'm very excited about. I think it's a no-brainer that we use that. And I think, yeah, like I think this is probably a couple of creative conversations to say, look, we have this now, but what's kind of the art of the possible? And in an ideal world, it's that pushing the boundaries. How far can we take this with that functionality? And what I love about that as well is that obviously people can sign up to that, but you can communicate just with that group. You can push stuff just to that group, like pages and all sorts. And so I think, and also potentially probably get some better analytics if we, out of that group, as well. So definitely for me, that one, again, like live streaming, we'll obviously probably use the events functionality again with that because it just will make sense. So yeah, look, and I know like the event stuff's in its early, it's in its early days. We always talk about this stuff, don't we, in terms of like you have kind of like your first release of it, and then as you go, you can you tweak it, you fine tune, you level it up, you kind of really go through kind of to make it like a full loop on bringing everything into the mix. So hopefully by the time we get to the summer and we get to the awards, we might be able to even push the boundaries a little bit.
I think so.
A little bit further, yeah.
So final one.
Go on then.
So the group, as we say, we've got our invisible green thread running through it. So we've got spotlights and awards. Do you think that the spotlights and awards applause process really strengthen that thread? And kind of what's your hope for how people carry that sense of recognition and connection onwards after the awards night?
Yeah, so I think, I definitely feel that all of our recognition strengthens the threat. I think, to be honest with you, when we talk about Ardonna, there's a few things that really sit kind of at the top of Ardonna, and recognition is definitely one of them. I know that we, as an organisation, we do kind of annual employee pulse checks where we, they're designed to kind of take the temperature and see how people feel. And every year, what does come, the positive stuff that does come through is the recognition, and people really feel strongly that that is a great, what we do offer and do is a great tool to kind of help, attract talent, but also retain it as well, because this stuff is great internally, but also from an external point of view, like people see this like on our LinkedIn, they see it on a website. It's a great way to kind of sell the organisation to people who are thinking about applying for a job or thinking about coming on board, and to show them that actually we're not just, we're far more than just an insurance business. We care about our people, we recognise people, we reward people through these processes and programs. And I think for me, that's, when I look at like this invisible kind of green thread, as we term it, so much of that, we talk about in that green thread around, offering a really different career in insurance, so different in fact that it might not be for everyone. And that's it's a phrase that I always use, because we are a different kind of business and it's not for everyone. But actually, if you're not afraid of wide spaces and just having a sense of adventure, actually you probably will find just what you're looking for at Ardonna. And I think Spotlight really kind of, and Applause even really kind of lends itself to, we do offer that, what we're not doing anything kind of like, we're not doing anything that hasn't been done before, but the way we're doing it is probably different to our peers and other people. And I think that, it's a real key USP. So for me, I do think it's strength, the recognition side thing really strengthens who we are and what we stand for. And then the second part of your question around, sorry, you're gonna have to remind me, what was the second part?
How you want that feeling to carry on after the event.
So I think look, the feeling carries on because people come back every year and they nominate again and again. But equally, and as I explained earlier, we have Ardonna, but we have a lot of businesses that are, they retain their own brand, they operate kind of independently. And I think what we are seeing a vast uptake in is actually people doing, these businesses actually running their own awards or recognition schemes that then further complement Spotlight. And I've got a special shout out for we've got a business in Ireland called Aracus, and they're fantastic. Honestly, they're a really fantastic business. That they are so, I mean, I spoke to 3 of them last week, different people, and everyone I spoke to, I was like, right, I'm gonna book the next flight to Dublin, I'm moving, I'm gonna go work for Aracus, because they are the most lovely bunch of people. And it doesn't matter who you talk to, they say the same thing. But something they've kind of implemented the last 2 years is they've created their own awards, and those awards are actually, they there's an element of Ardonna that runs through them, but actually it takes it a level kind of up, which is then, they're also concentrating on the things that make Arrakis. And
That
so then again,
personalisation, isn't it?
and they run their own awards that then complements what we do. So that feeling of recognition, actually, it's not just something we do, but people then go and do it themselves. And they're using Engage as a mechanism to do it. They are copying and very much like they're adopting our ways of doing it, because it works and they got the buy-in now. So look, we're seeing this a lot where people just the businesses and the people, I don't know how to say, it's just proof in the pudding, people love it and
take that blueprint and run with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's how it's why we see people come back, and how we see it work so well is that it's not just it's not just people, that businesses are really bought into that, and they're coming back, they're coming back and complementing it further with their own recognition schemes.
Amazing. Well, let's see what 2026 brings. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
so insightful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Annie.
joining us,
Thank
Ellen.
you, everyone, joining us as well.
There is a comment box, so any questions, drop them in the comments between Ellen and I and the team at Engage. We will also get back to you. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Fab. Well, amazing. Thank you so much. That was so good.